Everybody, and welcome to the MDMA Therapy Training Program. My name is Corey Westbury, and I am a training coordinator on the MDMA Therapy Training team. And the purpose of today's video is to walk you through Brightspace, which is the online learning platform for the MDMA Therapy Training Program. So you can spend less time figuring out how things work and more time immersing yourself in this beautiful course to help you get ready for the upcoming retreat at the Drala Mountain Center in Red Feather Lakes, Colorado this upcoming September. We're just so excited you're here. So we just wanted to spend the next 15-20 minutes, again, just getting you oriented in Brightspace, the online learning platform. So what you see in front of you right now is the home page for Brightspace. This is what everybody sees no matter what course you're enrolled into when you log into Brightspace. So hopefully by now you have received the username and password information from Brightspace. You've been able to log into the system. Again, this is the online portal for your program. So before we jump into the course and take a look at the materials, let's just show you a few ways that you can customize your experience. You'll see your name, so my name Corey up here, upper right hand corner. Click your name, and then you can actually click on profile to update your profile picture or any other relevant information you'd like included in Brightspace. So you can do that here through my profile. I won't necessarily click into that because it's pretty straightforward. Something I do want to show you is this notification section. Some of the feedback that we receive from trainees is that Brightspace is sending them too many reminders, too many updates, and you can actually control that flow of information through the notification section. I would definitely recommend that you spend a few minutes just customizing what types of updates you'd like to receive. For example, different summary frequencies of activity usage. I would definitely recommend keeping the email subscriptions for the announcements in play. If you like having updates when feedback is released on assignments or when due dates are coming up, you can go ahead and check that. Same with discussions. Don't worry about ePortfolio. We're not really using that right now. And you can also, if you want reminders of when quiz dates are coming up or when grade items are released, you can really control the flow of information here. It's really not designed to be overwhelming, but more so to help make sure that you're staying organized and up to speed with everything. But if it ever becomes too much, you can absolutely control the flow of information. You may also want to spend a few moments looking through your account settings. This is where you would go to update your password. If we ever have to do a manual password reset, you would come in here and change the password immediately. You can update your time zone if you're ever traveling, all of that good stuff. So that's just a little bit of directing traffic before we actually jump into the course. So now what I want to do is actually open up the course, take a look at some of the materials, and walk you through how to orient yourself. So again, from the Brightspace homepage, you come down to My Courses, and you're looking for MDMA Therapy Training, September 2022, Colorado. Let's open it up. Okay, so as you can see, anytime you click on Course Home, it takes you to this area. The course is actually divided into a Getting Started guide, which you'll start out with. Make sure you go through everything there, and I'll tell you why that's important shortly. And then you'll move on to Units 1 through 4. Make sure you're going through this content in the order that it's laid out, i.e., don't go to Integration and Ethics until you've had a chance to look through all of this first. It all builds on each other, kind of like the arc of an MDMA session. Surprise, surprise. So make sure that you're following it in the recommended order. So before you actually get access to units 1 through 4, it's very important to note that you are required to submit the confidentiality agreement, the acknowledgement of course requirements, and the pretest. These are all located within Getting Started Guide assessments. You'll notice you can launch the unit. Make sure you do that. And this actually takes you into the interface where you're actually moving through the course materials. You'll see a hamburger icon in the upper left-hand corner. Make sure you open that up if you like some additional navigation tools, just to be like, okay, where am I within the context of this particular unit? Again, I'm just focusing here on the getting started guide assessments because I really want it to be clear that trainees must submit each of these items in Brightspace before viewing units 1 through 4. So it's important that you're able to get these done quickly. They take about an hour total so that you can access the rest of the content, okay? A note about due dates in Brightspace. These are recommended due dates that the training team has put in place in order to help you stay on track with reviewing these materials so that you're fully ready to show up at the retreat. You've integrated as much of this content as possible. So do your best to submit these course requirements by the recommended due dates listed in Brightspace. If that is not possible due to the other demands of your very busy life, that is okay. You can submit things after the recommended due dates and still receive full credit as long as everything is submitted no later than the final course deadline, which is October 31st, 2022, 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. We are quite generous with including some additional buffer time between the end of your retreat and the official final course deadline. And that's intentional. That allows you some time to catch up if needed. There's also going to be an entire unit released of content after the retreat with resources along with some wrap up tasks that are course requirements. And we'll dive into what those course requirements look like shortly. But I just wanted to mention that because that is another common question that we receive from trainees is about due dates. So just make sure that you're following the recommended due date schedule as much as possible. And if you're not able to, you still have time to submit everything by the course end date, which is October 31st. Okay? And again, once you submit everything in the Getting Started Guide assessments, you'll be able to view units 1 through 4. And again, to open up each unit, you click this blue Launch Unit button. You'll notice that each unit is divided into various lessons covering different portions of the treatment manual, which will be heavily referenced throughout the training and at your upcoming retreat. You'll also notice that each unit has assessments in here, whether it's the Getting Started Guide assessments, Unit 1 assessments, Unit 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. So this is one area where you can actually submit those assessments. So enough about the course home. Also wanted to spend a few minutes as well going through the rest of this blue navigation bar at the top of the screen, okay? So announcements, this is one of the primary ways that the training team communicates with trainees while you're going through the course materials for the MDMA therapy training program. You'll notice there's no announcements in here yet, but there will be soon. So make sure that you're checking those on a regular basis so you're up to speed with all the happenings in the course. So that's announcements. Next, I wanted to cover FAQ. So the frequently asked questions, this is a resource that our team put together based on the types of questions that we're receiving from trainees. So I would recommend if you have a question that comes up as you're going through the course, we have everything categorized here under categories. If your questions about course requirements, you would just click course requirements and see what information is in here. Sometimes there's screenshots, sometimes there's links to other resources. Just make sure that you're spending some time going through this information. There's a lot of really juicy stuff in here. And if for any reason your question is not addressed on the FAQ, please send an email to trainingsupport@mapsbcorps.com with your request or your inquiry, I should say, and a member of the training team will get back to you as soon as possible. We do prioritize replying quickly to active cohorts. So if you have a question, reach out and we will do our best to support you. Next, I wanted to show you this calendar feature. This is also a great tool. I actually like viewing by list personally because it shows all of the items and the recommended due dates. You'll notice any recommended due date is noted with a blue dot on the calendar. And usually it's at the very bottom because it's 11:59 p.m. is when we set the deadline, just for tracking purposes. But something else that's really nice with the calendar feature, you can actually subscribe this calendar. Like if you're using Google Calendar, Outlook, something else, you can actually take this link or copy it, download it, whatever works best for you, and then you can add that to the calendar, the primary calendar that you're using in your life to stay organized, and then it can just overlay on top of everything else. So it's not one other thing to manage. You can actually integrate it into your current organizational system that you're using, which is really cool. So enough about the calendar. Let's move on to assessment tools. This is an area that you'll likely be referencing quite heavily throughout your time in the course, especially if you're wondering how close you are to wrapping up course requirements, if you need to resubmit or submit an assignment or a quiz, or this is also where you'll eventually come to download your certificate of completion. So let's open up grades really quick. I want to talk about that with you so you understand how grading works. You'll notice here, everybody in the course, you start with 0 points. Every course requirement is worth 1 point. So in this course, there are 27 points total. That means you need 27 out of 27 points by October 31st in order to be eligible for a certificate of completion. You'll notice that these course requirements are divided into assignments, quizzes, retreat attendance, making sure your tuition is paid in full. That means if you're on a payment plan, you would receive your certificate of completion after your final payment plan runs, assuming you've earned all of the other 26 points. And then also our team verifying that you've completed your experiential elective. There's a form for that. It's available within Unit 1 under the non-ordinary state of consciousness lesson. There's also reminders in the FAQ and also embedded in various other touch points throughout the course. This is monitored by the training team, so you'll notice this is not necessarily where you're going to submit the assignments. This is just where you'll see, oh, okay, I submitted my confidentiality agreement. I got 1 point. Awesome. Done with that. And then you just work your way down, okay? Where you'll actually submit the assignments is under Assessment Tools Assignments or Assessment Tools Quizzes. You'll also notice within the content build itself that within each unit, there's an assessment folder where you can also submit. You'll notice in Brightspace, there's often more than one way to do things, which can be helpful, can also create confusion at times. So if you're ever lost and you're not sure what your status is in the course, please just send an email to trainingsupport@mapsbcore.com so we can assist, okay? So let's open up assignments. You'll see here sliced by unit. You can see how many submissions you've had, what your score is. Something to keep in mind is there will be a delay between you submitting a requirement and that requirement score being reflected in the gradebook. That's a manual step that the training team has to take in order to make sure everything was submitted correctly and that we're awarding credit for the right stuff, okay? So keep that in mind. That's a question we receive enough where I felt called to name that in this space. There will likely be a delay between when you submit something and that grade being reflected in the grade book. That being said, if it's been a while and you have not seen much movement, reach out to us so we can take a look, okay? Recommended due dates again. Again, these are recommended. You can submit them after the due dates that are recommended as long as they're submitted by the end date of the course, which is October 31st. Okay, let's open up quizzes next. Assessment tools, quizzes. You'll see here, there's a number of quizzes that are required in order to complete the course, starting with the pre-test. There's 6 review quizzes, an integrity knowledge assessment, and then there will also be a post-test at the end, which is not listed here quite yet because it has not been released, but it will be coming down the pipeline later on. And again, once you've hopefully received 27 out of 27 points, no later than October 31st, you would come down to awards, and this is where you'll actually be able to download your certificate of completion. You won't see any of these in here. This is just my student account, so I'm enrolled in a lot of courses, testing a lot of material, but you'll be able to click on View Available Awards, and you'll be able to see Certificate of Completion, September 2022, This does not mean you've earned the award yet, but it is available to you to earn. But again, once you've earned it, you'll receive a notification in Brightspace. You'll also receive a confirmation email with guidance on how to go about downloading that, okay? So that's assessment tools, super important area for you to be familiar with. Let's talk about checklist. This checklist was designed to be monitored by you, the trainee. This is not updated by the training team, and it's intended to mirror the gradebook and help you stay organized. So you'll notice when we open up the course requirements checklist, my recommendation for interacting with this tool is to check these items off as you're submitting them in Brightspace, especially if you're the type of person who really likes to use checklists to stay organized. Again, this is updated by you. This is not updated by the training team. And you're just checking these off as you're submitting them in Brightspace. And then you hit the blue Save button. And this is just another way to help you stay a little organized in the course. I don't know if you saw this earlier, but this updated from 8 to 10 because I checked 2 boxes earlier. And just some additional description in here about how to use this tool. It's totally optional. You're not required to use it, but we received a lot of requests from trainees to create something such as this to help them stay organized, so that's why it exists. Finally, in this blue navigation bar at the top, you have discussions. These are all optional, and there's just different boards here that you can post on optional topics as well. With optional topics, these are also going to be embedded within the course materials themselves. Again, if you're in this navigation bar and you want to get back to the course content, all you need to do is click on Course Home, and it'll spit you back out to here. All right. And before we wrap things up today, you'll notice here completed 3 out of 6, 0 out of 25. So Brightspace doesn't always do the best job of keeping track of these. So that being said, we're not necessarily awarding credit based on if Brightspace is showing that you've completed all of these. What we're really assessing within the context of awarding certificates of completion is this grades area, i.e., have you submitted each of these 27 tasks or course requirements in the form of assignments, quizzes, attendance at the retreat, up to date on payments, and verifying your experiential elective. That's what we're really looking for, again, within the context of awarding certificates of completion. So that is all I have for you today. This was, about a 20-minute video, again, just summarizing how to navigate Brightspace. I would really recommend you have a listen to this before getting started if you have the time, just to alleviate any fret along the way. And let's rehash your next steps from here. So after you wrap up this video, your next step is to work on those getting started guide assessments. Again, confidentiality agreement, acknowledgement of course requirements, pre-test. Once you submit these 3 items, you will be able to view the rest of this online course content. Do your best to follow the recommended due date schedule. Brightspace will send out email reminders throughout the course to help you stay on track, especially if it's been a while and we haven't seen much activity, just to make sure that you're doing okay on your end. And just make sure you put that date on your calendar. The final course deadline is October 31st, keeping in mind that the retreat itself takes place from September 25th until October 1st. So you have about a 4-week buffer between the end of the retreat and the official end date of the course. And we definitely look forward to meeting you at Drala in person in September. Again, we're so happy you're here. And yeah, we hope you enjoy these materials. Have a great day.